and simplicities. But already in Offshore you see her mature and concise ability to give whole lives in touches of discreet detail. The other boat owners, smart Richard Blake and his disenchanted landlubber wife, the all-too-accommodating rent boy Maurice, the old marine painter Sam Willis, who wants to sell his boat before it sinks, appear in a tableau in the opening scene. But their group portrait is constantly developing, since change and flux are the essence of the book, and Fitzgerald moves between the strands of her story with insouciant wit and ease. It is the novel in which she finds her form, her technique and her power. Her procedure, always prizing the spare, subtle and economical, is aptly at its most fluid in Offshore. Fitzgerald professed herself drawn as a writer to people who seem to have been born defeated or even profoundly lost. They are ready to assume the conditions the world imposes on them, but they don't manage to submit to them, despite their courage and their best efforts. When I write, it is to give these people a voice. In Offshore, her barge-dwellers, creatures neither of firm land nor water, may aspire to the sensible and adequate conditions of life on the Chelsea shore, but a certain failure, distressing to themselves, to be like other people, caused them to sink back, with so much else that drifted or was washed up, into the mud moorings of the great tideway. She wrote later that she regretted translations of her title that suggested "far from the shore." The point was the unsteady nature of the craft anchored mere yards away from the bank, and the emotional restlessness of my characters halfway between the need for security and the doubtful attraction of danger. All, of course, have their own reasons, and some manage better than others. Fitzgerald, as ever, has a keen understanding of the worried and hard up. The novel's astute psychological portraits show her clear but sympathetic grasp of their mental habits, the notions they have long depended on, but that will not save them in the end. Practical Richard, advising poor Willis about readying his boat for sail, can't understand that he is dealing with, or rather trying to help, a man who had never, either physically or emotionally, felt the need to replace anything. Willis, indeed, had come to doubt the value of all new beginnings, and to put his trust in not much more than the art of hanging together. As it happens, a new beginning, or anyway a dramatic change, will be forced upon him. Nenna is more alert to her own failures of reason, and submits to long imaginary hearings before a magistrate, in which her ideas of her marriage and its prospects are subjected to withering forensic scrutiny. Even affluent, efficient, honourable Richard, the kind of man who has 2 clean handkerchiefs on him at 3:30 in the morning, is touchingly shown as the victim of habits of mind bred in him by social and naval training. This last reflection seemed to tidy up the whole matter, which his mind now presented as a uniform interlocking structure with working parts. Tragi-farce keeps them all in motion, its ambiguous terms never resolving into one or the other state. In a piece written 10 years later, Fitzgerald revealed that the original of Maurice, an elegant young male model, who lived on the boat next door and had cheered up his weary and shabby middle-aged neighbour by taking her to Brighton for the day, had shortly afterwards gone back to Brighton and drowned himself. But when I made him a character, I couldn't bear to let him kill himself. That would have meant he had failed in life, whereas, really, his kindness made him the very symbol of success in my eyes. Such private, fluctuating and unreconciled scales of value are at the heart of Fitzgerald's depiction of human interaction. And then there are the 2 little girls. Children in Fitzgerald's fiction often show a disillusioned maturity lacking in their unhappy seniors. From the 10-year-old Christine Gipping in the bookshop, who tells the childless widow Florence that life has passed you by, to the unflappable and totally in charge 12-year-old Dolly in the beginning of Spring, they tend to be managers, speakers of truth, and piercers of parental evasion.